Yo, what's up guys? I hope everyone had a great week. We got some budget contenders here today, the HBB Blon Z300 and the new Tanya DSP. Now, as some of you may know, I think the Korix DSP is the best budget all-rounder. So then, how do these two stack up to it? Well, I'll just jump in and find out. Starting with the Tanya DSP, it has a clean and quote-unquote correct overall sound signature similar to the Korix DSP, but with differences mainly in the low end and treble area. Now, the low end on the Tanya is more articulate and sharper in its attack. Notes feel slightly heavier, and the Tanya feels like it has a little more energy in the low end compared to the Korix. It's not a subwoofer bouncy feeling like the Con or Variations, but the low end is satisfying enough with zero masking in the lower mid-range or bleeding into the rest of the frequency. It's not a bass set for sure, but it's also not light on bass like the Chu or the Ola. The EA500 still has better overall low-end texture and slam, and the Warner and Condensa have more impact because of their extra mid-bass. But I do prefer the low-end on the Tanya more compared to the Korix because it's slightly more audible and sounds better separated. In terms of mids, the Tanya is clear and open with no congestion or warmness, and it's just as clean as the Korix. But the difference is that the vocals pop out more on the Tanya, and the notes don't feel as light and thin while sounding more natural. The Tanya isn't warm like the EA500, Z300, or QKZ HBB, but it does strike a balance in terms of clarity and note weight. Busy tracks like Flower Town and Strangest Thing are handled very well with no mud or masking in between the instruments. Layering can be better, more specifically in terms of individual instruments being more noticeable, but it's pretty great for under $100. Treble on the other hand is nicely extended, making vocals and notes in general feel sharper and more resolving than the Korix, where it can sometimes feel soft. The Tanya isn't a sparkly treble head set, but it never gets fatiguing even at higher volumes, and the dynamics are smooth just like the Korix with little unevenness. Cymbal strikes on Model, for example, sounds very natural with an added bit of energy compared to the Korix while maintaining the airy decay. But it also doesn't get spicy like the Chu or the EA500. Now, some of my nitpicks of the Korix was that it can sound light and soft in its notes, but the Tanya fixes both of those, making it sound like a slightly more exciting Korix DSP. However, because the Tanya emphasizes the bass and treble a little more, sandwiched together, it shifts your focus more towards the other two frequencies and less in the mids. It's not a V-shape by any means, but just slightly less mid-range focused, although the mids are still excellent with a boost in resolution and one of the best even around $100. Similar to the Korix, the noise floor on the Tanya isn't an issue unless you're listening at like 10% volume or during empty noise and pauses in videos, but even then, it's not that bad. Soundstage-wise, there isn't that much of a difference to me, still your typical slightly pushed down cone-shaped staging, and imaging does feel similar to the Korix and could be more accurate and weighted in its attack. But then again, $24, amazing performance for its price, and overall a no-brainer recommendation. Now, as for the Blon HBB collab, it's a decent choice if you have a similar library like Chris, with mainly old school hip hop and rock, since the bass texture and impact on the Z300 is very satisfying, heavy, and extends deeper versus the Tanya. You can feel the rumbling and physicality on tracks like Time and Good Kid Mad City, and male vocals on the Z300 sounds huskier with more note weight, but there is noticeable masking and some bass bleed into the mid-range. Vocals can feel too forward and congested, and after A-Bing it with the Tanya and Korix, there's just a noticeable difference when it comes to mid-range openness, separation, and clarity. Even though the Z300's treble has a nice energy at mid-volume, it does get fatiguing and hot once you crank it up. For example, the timbre in cymbal strikes leans on the metallic and grainy side of things rather than airy. Dynamics-wise, the Tanya and Korix DSP are just much smoother as well. So, in conclusion, if you like the QKZ HBB and Blon Z300 or that type of warm sound signature, then the Blon HBB is still warm but with less bass and is an overall mini upgrade in terms of resolution and treble extension. It won't scale as well as the other two because it's less warm and it has brighter treble, but it's very relaxing at mid-volume. On the other hand, if you want the cheapest and most quote-unquote correct sounding set, then the Tanya DSP is my pick for the best value budget IEM of 2023. Although the Z300 isn't bad either, especially taking into account the sturdy build quality of the cable and metal shell. The white and gold version looks really clean and classy to me, but yeah. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see everyone in the next video. Peace!